part of it. That's what it
And the
brings us.
people are actually, there's already 4 people online on YouTube.
Seriously?
Because they just, I don't know what they're doing. Why? Okay, so this is the debut episode of What the Hell Happened Last Week with the incomparable Sandy Lam and the nap-making degenerate Robert Scrove. This podcast is only going to be 30 minutes. It is not going to be a ramble fest. I'm going to actually cap this. So I don't have a time timer, but I'm looking at the clock. Basically, this is just a review of things that happened in the previous week that made an impression on us. They're going to be wide ranging, so it could be across the board, professional, personal, and so on. If you don't know who I am, that's probably a good thing because I am incredibly boring. You never want to know anything about me. Sandy's pretty much the feature of the show. She's dressed better. She has colors. Look at this nap hair. Do you see how like my entire like hair?
Oh, I totally thought that was your new style.
No, it's like 90s kind of retro wave, and it's just like, okay, I gotta get up and then podcast. So that's
you must roll out from the desk side, right? So
no, yeah, I have a little cut down here under the desk. No, I actually trudged upstairs to come to this podcast and do this, or live broadcast, where you want to call it. So this is, before we get started with anything, fair warning, you should stop listening and watching now. This is going to be the worst 30 minutes that you've ever spent on a Thursday. I am trying to deter you from even going one step further. You have so many different things you can do with your time. You can actually like enjoy something on Reddit. You could listen to something of the top 10 podcasts. You could actually browse LinkedIn and get more done with your time than listening to what we are about to tell you. This is fair warning. This is a complete waste of your time. Do not go any further. Shut it down. Close YouTube. Close podcast. Don't even look us up on LinkedIn. Don't even look us up online or hear anything we have to say. Because this, I'm telling you, I am begging you to stop watching this.
That's a great introduction of this.
This would be the worst decision you've made all week. So please stop. It's the debut episode. I'm telling you really early on. This is like a 6-month-old baby getting his hands on ice cream, which I saw a video of that this week, which was adorable. It is, once you get been into this, you're never going to be able to stop listening because it's going to be chaotic, unpredictable, but at the same time informative and somewhat self-appreciating, because we're just going to talk about what was interest us. So with that, if you are still listening to this, good luck. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, so Sandy, if you'd like to make an introduction after that, you can. Otherwise, we can get right into it. It depends. If you feel like we're going to waste people's time, then don't talk about yourself.
Oh, aren't we already?
Okay. Right. So let's do this like kind of like a tennis match. So I'm gonna say like something that I found this week that was kind of cool, and then you can either comment on it or you can submit your own thing. And then, like I said before, I'll take notes on my end, or why don't we have somebody who's listening take notes? How about that? Let's have our audience work rather than just
totally sure.
If you really want to know what happened and what we're talking about, do your own work and stop depending on us to do everything. By the way, I'll use it.
Yeah, or they should actually submit the topics that we want to talk about next time, so we don't even need to prepare anything at all.
See, there you go. That's exactly it. Why do we have to do any work for this? We really need to. We really need the audience to do work right off the bat and make this so that this is not just us serving them; they have to serve us. By the way, a little artifact. This is my son when he was 4 years old writing.
Oh.
So I'm not half bad. At least I'm a halfway decent dad. But podcasting, no, I suck at this. I think the highest listener count we're ever going to get is 30 people, and that's it. And it's probably all going to be people that we know. And it's just
30.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not even the TikTok crowd will accept us, and they accept everything right now. Okay, so, wow, this pad is falling apart. Let's get started. I am going to open with something I discovered about Sandy Lam, is that you cuss.
What?
You actually could use curse words. I did not know that about you. I thought that all the things I saw you LinkedIn and the Global Virtual Design Sprint that you never had said a bad word. And then I load up TikTok, and you have graphics between team and job. And you said, it's bullshit. And I was like, whoa, hold on. TikTok's like taking the veil off of Sandy Lam, like pristine kind of nature. It's like, yes, I curse like a sailor whenever I get in front of TikTok. So, and you were talking.
I totally, nobody was looking at TikTok. That's why I did that.
You put it on social channels beyond TikTok. So it's like people are going to see it. So, Sandy, please tell us what you were talking about. This is my first item, that Sandy Lam cusses. What were you exactly trying to explain in that 1-minute TikTok video?
Well, it was actually only 15 seconds. That was also something that I was trying to experimenting because
it only took you 15
I
seconds
realized,
to say a bad word is what you're saying.
Yeah, so I just kept repeating the same word again and again for 15 seconds.
Bullshit, 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 bullshit.
Exactly.
Is TikTok going to be an outlet for your anger? Is that what you're trying to communicate ahead of time? Is that we can get all sorts of informative stuff on any other social media network, but when you're on TikTok, you're cussing like a sailor? Is that it?
That could be a strategy, because I realized that the way to actually make your video popular on TikTok is that people complete watching your video and then they will loop it back and watch again and again. So if you make your video that they don't even realize that it just got restarted already, then they will just keep watching again and again and again. So,
well, yeah, I actually had to watch it 2 or 3 times because I was just shocked. I mean, I couldn't turn away from, because I was like, wow, this is new. So it was like I got the lesson and I got the graphics and I saw the thing, and then all of a sudden it was like, boop. I was like, whoa, okay. Now I'm to be honest with you, Sandy, I'm waiting for the F-bomb. I mean, I'm waiting for the next evolutionary scale of your cussing coming up. So,
well, it depends on which social media we are doing it. The language has to change.
F-bombs on LinkedIn right now. It's so organic that really, if you start doing it there, your views will just skyrocket. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, anyways, like my video was actually about because it has been a lot of people have been asking me this question. Like they see me, like I actually have a full-time job, and many of them at the beginning when they know me, they thought that I am a freelancer or I don't even have a job or something. Mm-hmm. And then once I told them that I actually have a full-time job, then they were like, how do you even manage doing all this stuff like global virtual design sprints and then do all these meetups and all this social media stuff at the same time? You still have your full-time job. And what I was trying to explain in that 15-second video was that a lot of people try to balance their life and work. And eventually that is going to make them not happy, because when you are not having a life at work, then the opposite of life is just death, right? So
you're dead. So you're saying that work is death. Is that what you're trying to say?
And essentially, I feel like that's what people, like a lot of people feel not happy at work, is because they can't really, they try to balance each other. And what I like to do myself is actually I like to integrate my work in my life. So because I only have one life, so why should I balance the two instead of I can combine the two? And in the end, like your working hours are, I don't know, like 8 hours a day minimum for a full-time job. So why should you try to balance it instead of using the work hours also to make you happy? So
yeah. And there's always that struggle between getting a paycheck and then doing what the company asks you to do versus what you really want to do.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can actually find a job or find at least something within your job that you enjoy. Then you're not only working for the money. Of course, money is a big thing, but in the end, if you are just driving for money, then you maybe not really need this job.
Yeah, that's true. Or at least unhappiness. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that was what I say.
Well, I guarantee you that if you keep on doing a lot of cussing on TikTok, you're going to be out of a job. I wouldn't go down that road. I think you should shore it up, Sandy. I really care for your professional career, because if they get on social media, they start searching around. They go, oh, she talks to elephants. Oh, she does all these little doodles. Oh, she does. Look at this MVP. Oh, is this her on TikTok? What is she doing? What? There's like. Do we want to work with her? I'm just saying, be careful. There's going to be those very sensitive types that are going to look at that and say, I'm not sure about this Sandy Lam person. Just she looks like she's a little bit of a disruptor. Okay. So your turn. Tell me what happened. What the hell happened last week?
Well, for myself, or for
such
you
a dramatic
two,
pause. Is there so much that happened that you just can't say right off the bat, or is it?
There was like so much happened. Like I don't know. Well, at least for myself, there was a lot of stuff happened during the last week. I just went really crazy.
Okay, hit me with one. Just one top thing that happened.
One top thing happened was I eventually finally published that Gary Vee mural board.
That's
that
right.
That went pretty crazy. Was a lot of work during my New Year holiday. And honestly, when I did that, I just thought I would just document it. And then in the end, I thought, why not just share it to everyone? I mean, the work is done anyway. So then I shared that mural, which saved a lot of people reading that 270-page deck. And yeah, so I posted on different social media and got really good feedback on it. So it was pretty cool. I thought like it just makes me happy when people would like come and say, hey, that helps you a lot. That saves me time. Just little things like that. Yeah.
And when you dropped into the mural, you could actually see people interacting with the thing that you created.
Totally.
It's really interesting seeing all the icons down there. So as a follow-up, I almost thought that it would be really cool, since if you wanted to actually apply the concepts that Gary Vee had about sharing content, all the artifacts you had in there, I thought of two things. One, you could literally take just bits and splice those up as pillar content to all the other channels in Twitter and everything else, but time yourself. So there's the perception that it only takes 51 seconds to create 3 pieces of content across platforms, when we all know that may not be the case. So it would be an interesting thing to do if, like, when I first started doing pillar content, I would actually time the amount of time I would take to get like a podcast and splice that up across all the different platforms for promotion. That actually ended up being 40 minutes, not necessarily just the 10 minutes that was promoted. So yeah, it seems like actual follow-up to that is, it's like, okay, I've done the board. Now here's how you can build your own recipes for different situations. But you couple that with what you want to get done for your brand or reputation, or something else.
And that was why I created that impact and effort scale. I don't know if I actually saw it, but essentially I also provided an Excel document where they can put in the time that they really need to take for them to create the content, and then they will fill out this whole Excel with their own data. Then at the end, they can plug it in this impact and effort scale, which means like how much time you will really need for you to create the content, and how many different contents you can really, like micro content you can get from this one piece, and then make the effort from that. And then in the end, you get this chart, and then you can figure out, okay, on the top left corner is where all this low effort, but I can really create the most impact of it.
You know, I should actually show what we're talking about so that people have a visual, since we are on YouTube and I'm streaming this. I don't have to be a dumbass and not do that. So that basically we can show what she's talking about, rather than
they can't see us anymore.
Yes, that's okay. I mean, they get enough. I'm not photogenic at all. I'm no, not after a nap, really not after anything. I mean, I would have to be, even, I think the closest I can be to somewhat good to look at is if I'm in a silhouette. So you can see the outline of what I am, and I'm completely dark. That's the only way it's going to happen. Beyond that, I'm a horrid to look at. I would not encourage anyone to do that, especially during eating. It's bad. So I'm now showing on the screen. Basically, if you're listening to this later on, too bad. You'll have to look at the link to actually get there. But if you are on YouTube and you're actually with modern technology, we are looking at the copy of Mural and her content creation modular system, and all the. Are
you showing it? Because I don't even see it. Or do you?
You aren't seeing it on your end?
No, now I see it.
Okay.
Yeah. Weird.
All right. Okay. But if you can't, if Sandy can't see it and you can't see it, let me just tell you that it is like, it's like the, I'm going to date myself. It's like the Pulp Fiction moment where they open up the suitcase and Samuel Jackson says he got it, and the other person says, yeah, I got it. It's pretty much that. So you have tools, image sizes, effort impact matrix. What I'm suggesting, Sandy, is that there's all of this data, all this information. You've distilled it down into a mural board. What I'm suggesting is that you start telling stories. So it's like, okay, if you want to learn how to use this, here is now how I would do this, or how you would apply what I've done to this, and walk people through it. And you can do these bits of like these small little, like it can be on TikTok or something else, and create those. Those would be like small incremental things. But then you get your own practice in on how you do it on your own, so that whenever you want to do it in the future, if you've had a curiosity about, well, actually, how do I take my own work and actually use it, you can show how you would promote and how to get things done. So instead of just kind of diving in because people, you know, they like the information, but do they actually do the work is another thing. These are like small little injections of, hey, you could do this.
Yeah, I'm also guilty about that, because after I published this board, I have not been really following the method that is published here by Gary, because
you're saying you're
scared by myself.
Is that what you're saying, Sandy? Are you really? First, you're saying you may have a problem with cussing, and now you're saying you're hypocritical of your own work.
Not my own work, but well, I mean, like when I try to calculate. Okay, so Gary has suggested all this time that it.
No. I'm a big fan. I think you're fantastic, but everyone has their faults, so it's okay. You don't need to explain it. I'm the same way. I put stuff out there, and it's like people do it, great. If they don't, that's okay. So it's all right.
No, I try to do it, but then when I kind of got scared of it, because when I calculate the time that it's Gary suggests here, and I calculate all these 19 different methods to create content that he said that we can do it in one day, and I added all the time, it turns out to be like 5 or 6 hours.
It can be, especially if you're not aware of it. But one thing you can do is if you do it regularly, it gets really fast and easy. Like the things that I do in terms of promotion tend to take 20 to 30 minutes, but I can cover literally every major social media platform. What I'm planning on doing when I get an opening is to basically try some of this stuff out because of the way you put in there, and then kind of say, okay, if you want to use Sandy Lam's kind of like resource, this is one way of doing it, and showcase that. So that's why I've had it up in a tab. As you can see on my screen, I have like 50 bajillion tabs, and there's actually like more.
I like to watch that.
80% of my max memory is being used by Chrome. When they used to promote it, eventually it's like, it's the quickest thing in the world. So everyone glommed to it. But really, it is like the modern day digital version of hoarding. You really just pack all sorts of tabs in there to the point where you're just seeing icons. Your intent is to gather them up, but really it's digital hoarding. So anyway, there's a new term for you.
And I'm so curious, why do you even have like 2 LinkedIn opened at the same time?
Yes, because, all right, so that really briefly, that was so that I could see everyone on the thread for the design sprint mastery exercise. And I wanted to include everyone on the thread that had either commented or that I had tagged originally about it, so that when I put out the doodle poll today to find a common time, I would make sure I was inclusive and included everybody that either commented or that I had originally tagged, so that I wouldn't lose sight of it, because chances are it's gonna be that one person I forget in that entire spectrum of things. So
do you get overwhelmed by like your likes and response and follows?
So I ignore the likes. I think they're nice. I think if you reach a milestone like 10,000 views, like I did this week, then you go, "Whew, man, I'm putting a lot of time into this." Like it's actually equating to some sort of results. But the only thing I really key on are comments. I come from a history of doing a lot of community activism and a lot of online engagement, whether it was, all sorts of platforms. The one thing that's constant is to make sure that when someone speaks to you, that you respond in kind. Maybe not as much as you normally do, but I'm at the stage where I still have the bandwidth to go on LinkedIn or Facebook or Slack or any place else. And for every comment, give it at least 24 hours to try to turn it around and give some commentary. Everything else is just to make sure that to see who seems to look at it and why. But on the notifications on LinkedIn, I just basically do a search for comment, or I just key in that word, and I just keep on scrolling. And if I see someone that does, instead of just says jolly good, or they actually say something, then I'll engage it. What tends to be problematic is when something blows up. Like, I was the author of Sorry UX, the Party's Over. And that hit last year, and right around the time I started my new business, I thought, okay, I'm going to summarize my criticism of this industry, because right now I see some warning signs that it's going into decline. And at first I was like, okay, Medium, I get some hits, right? A couple people happened to catch it and promote it as like mini influencers, if you want to call them. And I open up Medium and I have like 252 like alerts. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? It just took one link, and all of a sudden all this outpouring and all this like kind of back and forth of like this opinion, supportive, unsupportive, inquiring, kind of kicking the tires. It even made Reddit, for crying out loud. And I was like, what the hell is it doing here? So it was a complete like mind-blowing mind of thing. And then here's the other thing. Someone a month and a half ago put it up on this major like site that has like all these business links. And again, there was this huge spike in interest. And I thought, okay, this time around,
it comes back.
It does. And I put my mailing list there. I put a follow-up follow-up article that said UX is all but dead and buried, and people, man, I don't care about that. It was like the more nuanced approach of showing evidence in the field, as well as my own experience, that was a little bit more balanced, that still held weight and still has traction. Now, for the record, I don't think that anyone in UX is dumb or doesn't know what they're doing or is in the wrong industry. I know plenty of people that are very nice, very talented, very good at what they do, that are in the user experience field. I have to caveat that, because then people can make the association that I'm just I'm on a kind of slash and burn tour of UX, saying like, you should get out before the boat sinks. What I'm saying and what I'm trying to convey is that UX is not an industry that has any forward, it doesn't have a future. It really doesn't. It is a cycle that I've seen with information architecture, with usability, with user-centered design. You remember that whole thing? You're like, users at the center, because UCD is where UX came from. It's basically postured on that. And I don't care really if Don Norman had an epiphany in his book about how it does it, or if Jesse James Garrett said in the IA Summit back in 2009. It is going to repeat itself. UX is now like a gathering spot for all sorts of industries to find a job, to find someplace to interact with the user. And it's just not true. It's just not real. There's other designers kind of jobs in the titles that are more aligned to product. They're more aligned to experience. And I think it's a trap. And I'm trying to warn people that, if you get a gainful employment from it, fantastic. Keep doing it. If you love your industry, if you've aligned with that all your life, you do you. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying that I've been in this dance before. I've been on this monkey ride, and I'm telling you, it doesn't end well. And a lot of people are going to be clinging to their pearls and hold on to the last minute. Please, I want this job, and it's not going to happen. It really isn't.
And what would be your suggestion, like, for all those who are already in the UX field? If they do also believe that this is going to come to an end, then what should they be doing?
The thing I've been trying to promote is basically to fall back on knowing yourself, being very self-aware, but also when it starts coming down to like what makes you unique or special or good or just differentiates yourself from another UXer or another designer or anything else, what niche or what aspect of yourself is unique, you have to lead with that. You have to know how to be able to speak to it. Obviously, experience will help that to help you communicate it. But for people that are starting out in this, not so much, because you still have to kind of, you're still, your 20s and 30s, you have ideas, you're getting your experience, you're learning more, you're understanding where you fit in the world, and you're seeing the historical narrative about what you're drawn to. You really don't have an idea until you actually do it. So it's a little bit harder for like younger professionals to figure that out and really be sure of it, because you're still experimenting. But yeah, if it pays well and it gets you your standard of living, then sure, keep going with it. But you got to start banking on and thinking about what you really do well and kind of doing more of that, because that industry is going to start getting spliced. It already has since 2018. The number of UX jobs in comparison to like product designers has been halved.
Yeah.
Now they're at
Yes.
parity. So yeah, that's my whole beef. You know, I actually took over the show just now. I'm so sorry. I went off, but you asked me the question, so I have to laugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious. I like to know because I'm also titled as a UX designer. As much as I don't like it, I am titled as a UX designer, which is also what I'm trying to do for myself. Like I don't see that title as a blocker, but in the same time, I don't want to just be a, what do you even call it, like a traditional UX designer. Yeah, that's why I try to do a lot of things different also. But comes when it comes to the end, like I feel like this whole concept is also not just applying to UX field, it's actually applying to all different jobs at the same time. Like, I mean, most of the jobs in the world, they will eventually come to the end as technology or the world evolve. And people just have to find what they are good at in themselves and then change as the world change. So
the more you can lead into who you are and what you do, the better you're going to be. I know that's a really general statement, but let's just take a look at who you are. When this came out, everyone was kind of like, whoa. And you've had moments like this in the past as well. Not just necessarily you talking elephants, which is a whole different like topic of itself, but that's been your history. And that's what drew me to you, is like, okay, this is somebody that not only kind of does the design, but actually explores it and does it. Like you actually had applied design and you wanted to learn that way. So I was like, okay, for someone that had that kind of approach to how to execute, that was like, okay, when I see people actually applying their work, that is more of an interest to me, because it's not me, it's a perspective somebody else has, but it really speaks to how somebody is exploring what they're interested in. And that's always
but also found that interesting because as a designer, we like to explore ideas and we want to find innovative, creative things to do. And we do this for products, we do this for all different sorts of stuff. So why we don't apply that particular skill into designing our life? So yeah, right. So depends on what you like, and then you kind of have to use this design skill to figure out who you are and what you really want to do.
Mm-hmm. And just be allowed to kind of explore. So maybe that's something where I can segue into the next thing. Like the second thing that happened last week was some movement with a lot of the precursor to the GVDS. So this is going to be kind of self-promoting, but in a way it's been interesting. I've been changing my approach to experimenting with ideas. And what I mean by that is I'm giving space for people who have these initial thoughts around where they want to take things with like design, or with like Micah Coppens this week, or I think it was this week. She had this idea about a solopreneur service that would help people specialize in what they do. And I've been taking the time to say, okay, let's give it a platform. Let's figure out when everyone can meet, and let's just put a date that is where everyone that's interested can meet, but have it public facing. So surface these exploratory exercises that also involve some of the processes that I'm experimenting with, so that there's more of this public exposure to the concept of trying out something new and seeing that it's less about the hesitancy of getting it wrong, but more about the journey of where it can actually go. The part two that I have not been able to showcase yet, but going to, is prototyping, which is my new hot topic around testing the market on your ideas rather than being conceptual within a design sprint. So my second thing is going to be some of the events that I've been putting on, which is Design Sprint Mastery, looking at where design sprinters in this industry can kind of, instead of having a certification where you watch 6.5 hours of some videos and say, oh, I know how to do design sprints, actually having some better medium or better measurement to do that, looking at ideas and giving them life in that kind of model where whatever your idea is, you're going to the market, you're testing it with real people, and you're going to see if they put skin in the game. They give you money, they give you a real email, they make an investment, so that you know that there's markets, there's desirability in the market. Everything else can kind of fall into place. But I'm moving more towards that, and I think that the events that I'm putting on are going to showcase that and try to empower designers, researchers, marketers, executives to go out and try these things on their own time to really get the data that can make an impression with them. So that's the second piece I can put on the table is getting into experimental ideation in a public view.
Love that actually, because that you will really get a lot of real data from that way.
That's the hope. I'll share one more thing to kind of make a visual for what we're talking about. And it's this. This is with Chris Gerber. And he's got an idea about a learning sprint. And all I really did is in Mural while we were talking is kind of flesh out what we were thinking about. But the idea is that we're going to move this forward in sort of an experimental way so that once he's ready, he has to kind of ideate on it a bit. We're going to take the idea of learning and working being something that happens at both at the same time, and having a centralized, this is my idea actually, it'll just be, he's down here with the learning sprint because this is the process of learning, but taking a project base so that this incorporates both. So there's an opportunity for contract work. These are work projects that are actually in the mix that people can kind of use that correspond to the learning topic. So you can learn, and as you're learning, you kind of work more towards projects that kind of go with design thinking and other things. And then the contract work and other things can kind of be fleshed out a bit. But this is an artifact from that. This is the inception point that will start the process of potentially creating a product that people would want to either use or buy or kind of go with that. So it's less about what we think and more about what the market will react to.
Is this like, I mean, I don't really know much about this learning sprint thing. Is this like a one workshop thing? What is this about?
Yeah, and Chris, if he sees this later on, can cuss me out because I didn't properly I didn't properly represent it. But his idea is that you basically take the same concepts of learning ideas and it's group learning, but then after the first 2 days of exploring what you want to learn and kind of do about you take 2 days to kind of really do some deep dive, maybe experiment with it a bit, try it out, and then on Friday, instead of getting opinions from user tests, you actually come back and show your artifacts, what you learned, what you're moving forward with, the 3-week plan that you would have to kind of continue learning, continuous learning, and then that the group would essentially work as a circle, and like we've seen in the GVDS, they'll continually go back and forth and learn from one another and encourage each other to continue on with what they're doing until the point where they kind of fragment and go their different directions. But this is the inception point for commonality around a topic for them to learn, and using this process and the structure to make sure that it's concentrated learning in a short period of time, where the after effects of that are some learning plans that everyone can hold themselves accountable to.
I like that, especially when we can do this in a group.
Yes, because what this becomes is it not only fosters learning, but if you get people to showcase how they're learning it and what they're learning, you know, like LinkedIn is more like, LinkedIn Learning is like certifications. They promote a lot of what they do. But this is more, again, exposing in social media what you're learning about, and you will attract like other people that says, hey, did you know that there's this resource that you can go here, or this person's actually doing that? And that's what I want to encourage more of, is that you find like attracts like, so why not kind of get in this space and do more of this, which would attract people that are looking for people that are specialized in particular aspects.
What I wonder is like if we could also insert like a teaching thing in there, because the easiest way to learn is actually to teach, or the most effective way anyway. So yeah, because I don't know, like for me, I always have learning plans, but then in the end, what really worked for me was to begin to have the the goal to actually teach this topic that I'm trying to learn. So this could be something that can also insert in this framework, I think.
And also, you know, sometimes usually it's these kinds of learning topics in traditional institutions and also online are kind of set up like in General Assembly, so that there's an instructor with a topic, with a subject, with an agenda, and so on. But if that person wasn't there, but instead in the group that was part of the learning topic and was kind of contributed to the entire thing. There's less this sense of hierarchy around an instructor or one versus many, but it's a many to many. So that the person who's currently in the field and knows it can actually learn some new perspectives. They can take what they learned from these things and bring it back into a more traditional setting, because now they've actually gone through the motions with other people and saw firsthand what happened. I like that model a little bit better than because, okay, you purchase money, get a topic and so on. This is more exploratory and really it kind of allowing yourself to fail and experiment within the topic that you're interested in.
Cool. Yeah, love that.
Okay, so what do you got? What happened last week that you want to talk about beyond, you know, the Gary Vee board that you have worked on?
I conducted Unlocking Your Potential workshop that I learned from Crystal again. So I did that once in India, and I did that again here in Leipzig, Germany here. And
why did you do it a second time though?
Because I actually really found that workshop was quite powerful. It gives you, like, you know, like we always say that to unlock your potential, you need to strengthen your belief system. But I found it's very abstract. How, like, if I don't believe in myself, there's no way that I'm going to try to find things that I can believe in myself more. So it goes hand to hand in a way. And from that workshop, what I have learned from Crystal was some tangible, you can call it like recipes, step-by-step stuff that can really helps you to strengthen your belief system using different ways, how you can make yourself get out from the negative mindset and not being afraid to fail and experiment your stuff and experiment different things to learn and that kind of things. And it's very tangible. Of course, like the recipes that he was showing us doesn't mean that everything applies to you or me or one person. But the good thing is there are different varieties, like there are enough ways that you can choose from to pick on which one will really work for you. And yeah, so I did that one time in India, and also was some coming from a selfish point of view is, like I said, the more I teach, the more I learn. So I really like to teach this again and experiment that and see what people feel about this workshop, and often also come to very good conversations. So yeah.
And Chris has been speaking about this particular thing for a while. He was at different conferences. So he's been, I think of it since 2018, he's been kind of putting this all together, and you can find a lot of his stuff on YouTube that if you just put Christo Unlocking Your Potential, you'll find it. So I wonder if I can mute this. Basically, it's like, so yeah, and did they advertise their workshops over at the the Future?
The Future?
Yeah.
I don't think so, actually, because last time when I attend, the organizer actually told us that he wanted to promote this workshop more, but then Crystal said that he wanted this to come more organically, like the people who come to this workshop should really be the people who want to learn this, and not just based on because people are marketing it.
It's a curious. It's a curious like deviation from the norm, which if you look at any of Chris's properties online, they do a heavy promotion all over across the board about everything. So the idea of going organic with something where it's just a workshop is a curious thing. But maybe it's because the benefits of doing that kind of workshop, you need a smaller sample size, and you can't have like a large audience to really.
But doesn't mean that they don't promote this at all. It just means that they are not like, you know, like just a bunch of
come here and it will change your life.
Exactly. Like it's not like that. It's not like right in your face. It's more like, hey, we have this thing. If you want to do this, come and welcome. That kind of attitude there. So, and yeah, it was really good. Like he showed us the different worksheets. So it's actually like a hands-on workshop. The video you see on the internet on YouTube is just he turned it into more like a talk thing, which I don't think you can really get the full benefits in the workshop. Yeah, but in the workshop we were actually doing different exercise, and the exercises are so powerful that you can like it essentially can lead you to cry and have tears during the workshop.
So it basically gets fairly deep in terms of its topics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
But I found out also that's like it also depends on the person. Like I think that's also why Chris was not really like he wanted it to be more the people who really want to change their mindset to come, and not just like a whole bunch of people who is just come because he's a fan of whatever, you know. So yeah, so I also found that because if you don't have this mindset of changing, then it doesn't matter what people teach you, you will find different reasons not to believe in it, right? So, and when you don't believe in this exercise, then it's not going to work for you.
Yeah, if you're not bought into it. So did you cry in this one, or was it just kind of like like an observation that people were getting very emotional?
Yeah, I got a little bit feedback afterwards as well. So yeah.
Okay, but no crying, no cussing. You didn't go off the rails or anything during.
I did not.
I just want to know. You mentioned getting upset.
Yeah, but when I did this workshop, I also insert a few different personal stories instead of telling his stories. Even though like it's almost identical workshop. By the way, I did ask for permission to copy his workshop. So and it was so amazing. So I actually met him in person, and then I told him that I wanted to use his workshop to bring this to different people. And I asked if I could use the concept and all the steps that he was teaching
and I'm
us.
sure he said no. I'm sure he said no. I really don't want to.
His answer was like, if you can do this, then you are a good student. Like it's like, okay, sure.
Very matter of factly.
Yeah. So I did that, and yeah, it was really cool. So when I swap in my personal story, then it also makes me realize that after the workshop, what I have learned also has actually affected myself as well. So I've been using the technique. That's what I'm trying to say.
I have an interesting story about Chris Do. The very first, after the pilot of the GVDS, I actually remember. I mean, you may have seen this, maybe not. I actually sent him an email or a Twitter or something and said, "Hey, do you want to be part of this?" And he said, "Well, send me a message and connect with me on Facebook and we'll talk it over."
Yeah, Facebook.
So I sent him a message, and he replied at midnight. It's like I was just about to go to him. He says, "So what is this all about?" And it was like it became this really like upfront Q&A. Like he basically was like, "Okay, what is this? What does it do?"
Yeah,
and then the questions turned from informational to prove it or tell me it's worth my time. So it was like, why should I care? What is it this? And I'm like, this is just like starting out, and I'm trying to like prove it to Chris that's like, this is like something that's never happened before, and this is what we do, and here are the examples. Here's how we help to charity. Everything else, nothing. Just yeah. And so what's the impact to this, and so on. And then finally at 12:30 he goes, "Okay, well, thanks." Like, what are you doing? And then I saw, since he was connected to me on Facebook, I saw he got up at 4:30 in the morning the next day, and I'm like, dude, all right. This could have been done like after you took care of everything. You made your breakfast, you made a video, and then pepper me with those prove it questions like at lunch. But I don't think he was interested. Funny enough, also he tried doing the design sprint with this other guy. It was like a Google certified one. That video in a sense does not exist anymore. So I don't think he's really into design sprints per se.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't
yeah.
So he really didn't.
He has his own thing, but it matches his personality. I think like a lot of these people are also like that. Like, like Gary Vee, either you hate him or you like him. Like.
Although here's something interesting. For Gary Vee, you may have an impression of him through his content that he thinks a certain way, but the thing that you don't want to do if you want to break that kind of facade that you have of him is go to Glassdoor and look at the reviews of VaynerMedia, because those those are creative writing exercises in either regret or vindictiveness, and like,
Oh.
and but there are themes there that would make you believe that there's an old boys network there, but there's also it's not very friendly to women, or at least that's the impression that you get. Even to the most newest ones,
Yeah,
they
okay.
really struggle with culture there. So that some of the stuff that he promotes, Gary Vee promotes, like the playbook and everything else, it's useful. I mean, it's tools that you can use to basically like get better at social media. But working there is probably a different story altogether. So that I ventured in
Could
there.
be.
I spent like half an hour looking at the stuff, going,
Yeah.
no wonder he made a
Yeah.
video to basically address it. And he was like, oh,
I was also listening. I was also listening to the podcast from Checker Jonathan, the Adrian Smart one, and John was also saying like all these people, like either you hate him or love him, but even if you hate him, doesn't mean that you don't need to listen to their stuff at all. You know, like, because he was making this example from Facebook, like Mark. Now I forgot his name. CEO of Facebook.
Oh, you're talking about
Mark Zuckerberg.
I'm forgetting his name.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, that guy.
Right? Yeah, that guy. And then because a lot of people now started to hate him because of all these things that Facebook is doing. But what he was trying to say, that's like, even though you don't like this person, doesn't mean that everything this guy say is nothing or it's not worth listening, because he must have done something right to get this person to this position, right? So
yes,
that's kind of also how I feel most of the time. Like, I also don't like some of the stuff that Gary Vee does or whoever, you know. But in the end, I still try to consume that stuff, and then I can be the one who judge if I want to listen or not.
In the past, he's been very transparent about trends. So if you took the time to have it on the background, and then every so often you caught a nugget of something that he noticed, either through like the grapevine or through like his craft. He was one of the people that very early on basically said that the organic reach of Instagram was done. And yeah, I saw it too. I saw it, and the reason I saw it is because I started seeing the like just my network basically checking out stuff, and then everything else was just not happening. Even when I went out and cross promoted and reached out to people. So
yeah, and now he's saying TikTok is the new big thing.
Yeah, it's getting there. I mean, you have your themes on TikTok. You have, okay, the teenage girls that like to dance in front of music. You have the gamers who like to put Call of Duty and everything else. You have the Star Wars fans that basically like showcase like all these different clips from the video games. Then you have the natural events that happen where there's earthquakes, lightning strikes, and everything else. Then you have the sport clips. I mean, it's got these genres of like videos that people consume all the time. And after a while, you're just kind of like, okay, I'm just waiting for something a little bit different, but it'll get there. It's just, you have that much, you have that many people on there, you're going to eventually find a group of people that are going to really like what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And when you get there early, then you can be the one who's creating all these new things. So.
You'll have practice, right? So you'll
I know.
Yeah, in something, you spend enough time in something, you're eventually get good at it. Like writing.
Yeah, I'm experimenting a lot recently, but I think I've killed my account.
You've what?
I've killed my account.
How can you kill your account?
Yeah, so I found out afterwards that there are different levels in your like your account. Like there's one thing is called a zombie account. And the reason you will notice that is like whatever you make is not going to reach over like 200 people. And that's like no more, like, because TikTok are just so many people. So the chance that your video doesn't even reach more than 200 is like really rare, actually.
I've gotten over 100 once. So I'm not, okay. I don't care. I'm fine. I just like doing it so I can experiment with it.
No, but the thing is that you can actually kill the account, and then in the end, doesn't matter what you do anymore, and you just need to recreate a new account.
Really?
So yeah, so there are different ways you can kill it. One way I think I have done it was that I switched my theme. So at the beginning, I was not sure what I was doing. And then I thought, hey, let's just try something to get more followers first. then I start doing a lot of animal videos, and that actually was working pretty well. Like I got, I don't know how many, but I got quite a bit. Yeah, so I got quite a bit of followers just in a few days, and then but then I stopped right away because I thought, okay, then now what? What if I just get a whole bunch of followers who love animals? It's not what I
They
really
just like
want
the
to
animals.
do.
They didn't want to see you. They just want to see the animals. Oh,
Yeah,
cute. Oh,
exactly. So
yeah.
then I decided to switch my theme again and then start putting out more design related stuff. But then now I found out that just because I switch the theme so often, they the algorithm would not know like where to put your content to the people, and they can't find a match. And then they will eventually put your account into a zombie account.
Really?
And
So there's like a
I
zombie kind of category for accounts that are just
yeah,
all over the
so
place.
they said that like try to at least see if that really happens after 10, 20 videos, and if still not reaching anyone, then you probably want to recreate a new account.
Hmm.
But I've not like put out more than 20 yet, so we'll see if it really is. But I'm seeing that a little bit. And the
Wow.
other trick is I've learned never use more than one phone for one account. Goes also reverse, so you don't want to have two accounts on one phone, and you don't want to have two phones on one account.
Yeah, and I've realized that I have to listen to the entire song clip before I actually attach it to anything, because there are some
Mm.
song clips on TikTok that while they try to keep out all the cussing, they don't take out the intent of the content. So I found one that was called Swing, but then it was quite like provocative in nature towards the end, and I was like, oh yeah, probably shouldn't have. But that's okay. It was just weird.
Yeah,
Okay,
I was actually watching a lot of TikTok or algorithm videos and been taking a lot of notes, trying to experiment.
interestingly enough, you're somebody that tends to want to learn by default. It's always been part of your nature, so it's kind of cool. I think that's why I want to do podcasts with you, because being as I'm just kind of in a bubble here with virtual sprints and process, I'm going to go like, oh, that's very interesting. I know about algorithms, so I'm going to learn something. Okay, so to recap from our first episode, we told everyone to stop listening, and I actually looked at the feed, and we're now down to one concurrent viewer, and I think that's just me. So mission successful. No one's listening. Fantastic. Okay, so let's recap. We had the Sandy Lam and cussing on TikTok and talking about life and job balance. So that's what happened last week. There was also the Gary V board that you created, that mural. I'll put that in the show notes. I'm also experimenting with ideation sessions in public to showcase both ideas and failure and testing at the same time. And then you also had Christo's Unlocking Your Potential workshop. That was your second time going there. And you're a big fan of his work, and because it's something where you really key in on some of the main messages that he has.
Yeah.
So who
You
knows what's
got
going
it.
Yes, I think I've got it right. So who knows what's going to happen next week. If we had anyone that's of any interest that is still with us even to this time, you're probably either running, doing dishes, or you left your phone on. But if you would like us to talk about particular things that have happened in the previous week, during the week, you can drop us a line and just shout at your computer.
And we will just don't reply.
We don't
Drop
reply.
us a line and we don't reply.
So yeah, find us on LinkedIn. You can search Sandy Lam, that's Lam, or you can do Robert Skrobe, Skrobe. Don't email us, because neither one of us really look at emails much anymore. It's one of those things where
What is email?
yeah, we don't release key on it. So do reach us to us on LinkedIn. You can leave a comment on YouTube where this is up. And we prefer that you tell us how bad this was, because then it only encourages us to do more of these, because obviously we want to see how crappy we can make these.
Oh, we do say we learn from failure. So the more we fail, the more we will do this, right?
That's exactly it. That's the positive spin. So I'm going to close it down. My name is Robert Skrobe, and for Sandy Lam, I'm going to say thank you for listening and watching to What the Hell Happened Last Week. And hopefully you will not listen to us next week. But if you do, we'll see you then. Okay? Bye, everybody.
Bye.